Today, we're diving into a timeless model for leadership, especially for navigating those really difficult moments in life. Conflict, hostility, and deep division. We'll be looking at how some ancient wisdom can give us some seriously powerful strategies for the challenges we all face, even now.
So let's just start with this one big question, because honestly, how you answer it changes everything. When you're up against hatred and division, what does it really mean to be strong? Is it about overpowering your opponent, or is it something deeper, something more resilient? All right, first up, let's look at a huge, community-wide conflict. This was a threat that almost blew up into a full-blown civil war inside a brand new community.
So, picture this. You've got these two tribes, the Ansar. For generations, they were bitter enemies. But now, they're united by this new faith. But then, some instigators come along, and they want to shatter that peace. So what do? They start whispering about the old blood feuds, the old hatreds. And you know what? It works. Just like that, swords are drawn, the whole community is literally seconds away from ripping itself apart.
And right in the middle of this chaos, this moment of crisis, divine guidance comes down that speaks directly to what's happening. The verse is this powerful warning, right? It's saying, don't be like those who fall apart and argue after the truth has already come to you. It's a reminder that division is just not an option, especially when you've found something that's supposed to bring you together.
And what happens next is just wow. It's remarkable. The prophet doesn't just yell, "Hey, stop fighting." No. He reminds them of the gift they've been given, this new brotherhood in faith, a bond that was supposed to completely replace the ignorance of that old destructive tribalism. And the sources say the change was instant. People dropped their weapons and they started embracing each other, weeping. Now that is a different kind of strength.
Okay, so that was a huge community-level crisis. Now let's zoom in. We're going from this massive conflict to something deeply, deeply personal. We're talking about how to master your own anger. Especially, and this is the hard part, when you feel like you have every right to be angry.
So get this, a scholar, a guy named Phinehas, says something just jaw-droppingly offensive. He mocks God saying, "Truly Allah is poor and we are rich." Think about that. He's not just dissing a person. He's mocking the divine itself. This was an insult calculated to provoke the most intense, visceral reaction you can imagine.
And yeah, it works. Abu Bakr, a man famous for being calm and cool-headed, just loses it. He gets so angry he actually strikes Phinehas. And you can kind of get it, right? It just shows you how severe the insult was. But what comes next is a total game changer. It's a lesson that shifts the whole conversation away from was the anger justified to what is the strongest way to respond.
Because right then, a verse comes down that points to a totally different path. It basically says, if you can be patient and stay conscious of God, that is the thing that will determine the outcome of everything. It reframes the whole incident. It's not about a personal fight anymore. It's a test of your inner strength, your character.
And this is the perfect example of the concept of sabr. A lot of people think patience means being passive, just taking it. But sabr is not weakness, not at all. It's an active, powerful kind of perseverance. It's the strength to endure insults, to take a hit without lashing out. And that is where real power lies. Okay, so we've covered open warfare and direct, in-your-face insults. But what about the sneaky stuff? The passive-aggressive comments, the veiled insults. How do you deal with that kind of malice without getting dragged down into the mud yourself? So check this out. A group comes up to the prophet, and instead of greeting him with salam alaikum, which means peace be upon you, they say assam alaikum. It sounds almost the same, but it actually means death be upon you. It's a curse disguised as a greeting. Well, his wife, Aisha, she hears this and she is furious. She fires back with a curse of her own. But the prophet stops her. He gently corrects her, saying, "Be quiet, Aisha, for indeed Allah does not love foul speech." And right there is the lesson. Your character, your manners, they aren't dependent on how someone else is behaving. It doesn't matter who started it. You don't sink to that level. So what did the prophet say to their death curse? His response was so simple, so calm, just wa alaikum, and upon you. That's it. No anger, no escalation. He just refused to get down on their level. It's the perfect example of how your good manners are about you and your own dignity, not about reacting to other people's ugliness. All right, this leads us to maybe the toughest challenge of all, the hidden enemy, the threat from within. How do you deal with hypocrisy, with betrayal, when it comes from inside your own ranks?
There was this group known as the Munafiqun, or the hypocrites. And they were a special kind of dangerous. On the outside, they acted like Muslims, like part of the community. But in secret, they were allied with the enemies, constantly trying to sow discord from within. And their leader, a man named Abdullah ibn Ubay, was the master of stirring up trouble.
And the Quran calls them out with honestly, chilling accuracy. This verse describes them perfectly. It says they take friends from among people who have earned God's anger, and that they are neither of you nor of them. They're stuck in this treacherous no-man's land, which makes them so unpredictable and so dangerous.
But here's where it gets really surprising, a totally counterintuitive move. The Prophet knew what these guys were up to. He knew about the treachery, yet he repeatedly chose to pardon their leader. People would come to him, demanding justice, demanding punishment, and time and again, the Prophet chose restraint. The big question is, why?
It all came down to strategic patience. He was playing the long game. He knew that taking out a public figure, even a traitor like Abdullah ibn Ubay, could ignite a civil war. It could shatter the community, which was still really fragile. So he prioritized the long-term health and cohesion of the group over the short-term satisfaction of revenge. It shows us that sometimes the most powerful move is to hold back. Okay, so let's pull all this together. We've looked at 4 very different situations. What's the common thread? What's the unified philosophy of strength that emerges here?
It really boils down to 4 key pillars of strength. 1. Unify. Bring people together under a higher purpose to get past all the petty divisions. 2. Endure. Meet insults with that powerful patience, that sabr. 3. Elevate. Respond to ugliness with your own dignity. And 4. Forbear. Practice strategic restraint when the long-term good of the community is at stake.
You see the pattern, right? In every single one of these stories, real power wasn't about the knee-jerk emotional reaction. It was about making a proactive, conscious choice to stick to a higher principle, whether that was unity, patience, dignity, or stability. And so that really leaves us with one final thought. We live in a world of instant reactions, right? Social media outrage, the pressure to clap back immediately. It's all about that impulse. So the question for us is, how can we cultivate this other kind of strength? This deep, quiet, strategic patience in our own lives?